In World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King Classic, one of the enemies that sticks out from the rest are the Drakkari Trolls, located within the zone of Xuldrak. These frost trolls have an extensive and tragic history that spans over thousands of years, and you'll be surprised how powerful they once were compared to how desperate and evil they have become. So let me explain the lore. I'm PlatinumWoW, and here is my interpretation of the ancient history of the Drakkari Trolls, their rise to power, and their inevitable downfall, and how you, the players, helped cause it. 16,000 years ago. All of the troll tribes were once the strongest civilization in all of ancient Kalimdor. They united in a war against the old god minions called the Ae'kir. This battle was called the Ae'kir and Troll War. Yeah, very creative, huh? Anyways, the Gurubashi, Amani, and Drakkari tribes united under the command of the Zandalari tribe and formed the Empire of Xul. Together, these trolls fought side by side and easily pushed back the old god threat. And although this battle was won and the Ae'kir were pushed out of Zandalar, the war was not over. The three tribes were sent out by the Zandalari to fight the retreating Ae'kir that spread across the different corners of Azeroth. If the tribes were to be victorious, the Zandalari promised that they could permanently settle in these new locations. And the Drakkari Trolls were the ones that lost the coin flip and had to travel all the way up north to the frozen wasteland. In the tundra, the Drakkari battled against the remaining Ae'kir. A surprising new enemy they had to face were the corrupted Tol'vir called Obsidian Destroyers, humongous titan creations made of solid stone. These would be a fatal threat to many, but the Drakkari had cut their teeth on countless battles before, and the Obsidian Destroyers would be no match for their ingenious tactics.
It be dying time now!
Okay, with the Ae'kir and the Obsidian Destroyers defeated, the Drakkari and all the other troll tribes flourished across Kalimdor. Over the next 15,000 years, the Frost Trolls built their kingdom of Xuldrak and even pushed into the lands of Grizzly Hills to the south. Within their new sprawling kingdom, the Drakkari heavily worshipped a variety of different animal gods called the Loa, like all troll cultures. All across their empire, there were shrines dedicated to each one of these mythical beasts that would grant them powers when praised and given offerings. The Frost Trolls settled as a powerful force in Northrend for most of the continent's history, until... yeah, you know what. The Lich King had stirred from his hibernation, and all of a sudden, an unrelenting wave of Scourge at his disposal hit the Drakkari fast and hard. Each troll death would only add another soldier to the Scourge's ranks. And seriously, there needs to be a blue post on the forums talking about nerfing Death Knights because this is just ridiculous. In fact, the entire Scourge is ridiculous. Like, how can the Drakkari even compete? They have unending waves of soldiers, one of the biggest NPCs in all of Wrath of the Lich King, who is stitched together with the flesh of storm giants and floating necropolises that are literally flying fortresses of death and destruction. One of the first major defeats for the Drakkari was Draktheron Keep. Outside of the keep, there is a constant flow of fleeing trolls, and inside, there is an all-out slaughter, and each slain troll is raised into undeath by invading necromancers. As players progress through the dungeon, they'll fight the third boss, called King Dread, in the courtyard, who has an interesting backstory. This hulking Devilosaur was found by a troll hunting party and seemed to be thriving off of the Scourge Plague. Perhaps this beast could hold the antidote to the curse. So the Drakkari captured him, but before they can make any sort of alchemical breakthrough, we murder him. Because, The Staff of the Great Reptile and the Stable Master's Breeches are some of my best onslaught items, so no hard feelings, right? When players travel further up the keep, they'll find the last remaining living Drakkari desperately trying to fight back the Scourge, and the final boss is a troll who has been transformed by the powers of the Loa and then raised into undeath. I think it's safe to say, yeah, no, Drakkari Keep is a lost cause. But nearby the sacked keep is the Argent Stand. Now this is where the champions of the Argent Crusade are fighting the same enemies as the Drakkari. Although it's never explicitly stated, I'm sure if given the chance, the Argent Crusade probably would have helped the trolls. I bet they'd be all like, look guys, we are the Argent Crusade, an order of peace who accept Horde, Alliance, and even gnomes into our ranks, and only want to defeat evil. By the light, that was so uncalled for. But the Drakkari Trolls are just so prideful and so stubborn, they attack everyone and everything on sight without hesitation. I mean, I kinda would be too. Just think about it for a second. You are an empire of trolls who once defeated the biggest threats on Azeroth and created an entire civilization that thrived for thousands of years in the harshest conditions, only to be suddenly defeated by a bunch of brain-dead zombies that came out of nowhere. But the Drakkari are so aggressive and so unhinged that they have even started attacking other trolls who they once called their allies. The Drakkari Trolls have established a small little outpost called Zim Torga, which is constantly being assaulted by Drakkari. But let's be clear, the Drakkari are not here to help them. Oh no. They're doomed. They're just here to recover some Drakkari artifacts and preserve history before the Frost Trolls destroy it all in their insane lust for power. You see, all across the zone of Xuldrak, the shrines dedicated to the Loa gods have been left in ruin, defiled by either the Scourge or the Drakkari, who have sapped their strength for their own selfish survival. The city of Gundrak is the heart of their betrayal against the gods they once worshipped. Deep within the city, we can see the empowered Drakkari who have found new, overwhelming strength from sacrificing their gods and harvesting their power for their own nefarious needs. Some of the gods the Drakkari have slain or enslaved include the likes of snake, bear, serpent, leopard, alpaca, chicken, and they did try to sacrifice the mammoth god, but he willingly blew himself up instead of being sacrificed. If you venture to the altar of Mamtoth, you can find the giant crater where he blew himself up. Like I mentioned earlier, their capital city of Gundrak is the heart of the Loa god's sacrifice. Players will need to travel into the dungeon and slay these power-hungry trolls who have gone off the deep end of insanity and try not to get impaled on a rhino's horn in the process. Overall, Xuldrak does an amazing job at illustrating the unfortunate collapse of one of Azeroth's strongest empires, and the destruction the Lich King and his Scourge army can bring, even to a powerful empire like the Drakkari Trolls. If we don't stop the Lich King, all of the zones will look like Xuldrak. Rotten, depressing, and hopeless. But that's not the case just yet, and there are tons of other places to explore, enemies to defeat, and loot to obtain in Wrath of the Lich King Classic.